Well, it's a perfect day to finish doing the winterization of the camper and potentially installing the RV pump converter kit to suck some antifreeze into the water tanks and all the spigots inside the camper, because it is it's sleeting. You may not be able to see it, but you maybe can hear it. It's supposed to turn to snow here pretty soon, October 29th. Pretty sweet. All right, so here we are inside our Keystone 186 SS, and I think our water tank and water pump are under the bed. When I turn on the water pump from the back, just back here, back there, I cannot tell if it's from back there or up here, but I think it's under here based upon where everything was draining. And I've never gotten under here because the plywood is screwed down. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew that, and we'll see if it is in fact under the bed. All right, so as it turns out, it's not a Phillips head screw. It's a square head screw bit. See what's underneath. Oh yeah, everything we were looking for. Perfect. And it looks like our water pump does not have the converter kit on it, so I'm glad I bought it, because we're gonna need that. And that's our hot water heater. Perfect. This is great, easy to access everything. Good deal. All right, so now we're gonna undo some of the water lines and get the new converter kit that we bought plumbed in so we can pump in some antifreeze. Best part about working out of the camper on a cold fall day, you can leave the door open, get a nice brisk breeze while the sleet just bounces off the awning. Alright, so in order to install this RV pump converter kit, which attaches to the inlet side of the water pump, which is the side that it pulls from the tank, we're going to have to remove the PEX crimp that's on that side of the tank right there, the metal C-clamp or hose clamp looking thing. We're going to have to remove that in order to attach that valve right where that's at. So we also might need another fitting to go there to allow the water pump to suck through the antifreeze. All right, so take back everything I just said about needing that crimping tool, because I couldn't tell on the hose down here. It's a winged nut. So you can just unscrew it and then screw that into the brass fitting that comes in the kit. So that's great. Sorry, my wife's over here playing videos while I'm trying to record, so no big deal. But now we're gonna go ahead. Goober. So I'm just leaving that in there. What are you doing?
That was my podcast that I had playing while I was doing laundry.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's a podcast, so we're not claiming rights to it. So we're gonna go ahead and get the Teflon tape on this brass fitting, and I'll show you guys which way to orient that, because the arrow on it is backwards of the flow. The arrow needs to be pointed at the tank, even though the antifreeze is essentially coming from the tank, even though it's coming through the hose. I'll show you upside down. All right, so I'm unscrewing the hose from the tank here, and then that will allow us to, I put some towels down, but no water came out. So that was just a nice winged nut. So that was easy to undo. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put some Teflon tape on the side that the arrow is not pointing. And that's the side that is gonna go into the pump, which doesn't make sense. The arrow is pointing this way, but essentially the flow is going backwards. It's backwards. It doesn't really make sense, but that's what all of the reviews have shown. So we're going to go ahead and put Teflon tape here that's provided, and then we'll screw on this plastic fitting onto this end, and then we will go ahead and screw this plastic onto the pump. So it'll sit like this on here. And then we'll go ahead and put Teflon here and screw the pump line back onto this end. So the flow will essentially go opposite of the arrow. This will screw onto the pump, like I had said, and then you'll just leave it like that. But once we're wanting to winterize it, which we're doing today, we'll take this cap off and turn this valve, which will allow the ball to swivel in there and draw liquid out of the tank of antifreeze to go through here, through our pump, and push into the RV system. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll show you, bring you along on that step by step. All right, so we've got our Teflon tape, and I didn't know this for a while, but you always want to wrap your Teflon tape in the direction in which your pipe is going to be threaded on, so it'll hold it down. So because we're going to take this coupler and put it on righty-tighty, which is how everything, well, most everything goes on, it's going to turn this way or away from us. We're going to want to wrap the Teflon tape in the same direction. So kind of hold it on there. And go around once you get it grabbing. There we go. Then you can kind of pull it tighter. And you can see I went over the back end of this so I can hold it snug. So I've heard many different ways on how much you should put on. I've heard like 3 wraps. I've heard 1,000,000 wraps. I think just until it makes it really snug. So that's, I just did 5 wraps, which I don't know. That may be too much. Let's see what the instructions say. I like doing everything by the book if I can, because I don't want to mess it up. But at least 2 layers. I did way more than 2 layers, so we'll see if that screws on. But the reason we're doing the side first that the plastic goes on is because you can't have this hooked to the water line before you screw it onto the pump, because the water line won't twist. So that's why you want to do this side first. So you take this, I've put on, apparently per the directions, too many layers, but that still screws on really nicely. And it's got a flanged seal in there, so that should seat on there pretty well anyways. I'm going to do that relatively hand tight, and then that slipped, but I don't want it to leak. It's about as tight as that'll go. So then I'm going to screw this on to the water pump down here from this side onto that piece down there. Let me zoom this in right there, and then we'll hook the water line to this side, and the flow will be going the correct direction. So I'm going to go ahead and screw that on, but first I'm going to wrap this with Teflon tape so I can, it's a little bit far away. It looks like I have plenty of room, but because I can't put the slide out because we're on uneven ground, our driveway's slanted, I'm a little bit far away from it, so it's kind of hard to reach. So go ahead and put some Teflon, and then I'll get this screwed on there. All right, so I got the Teflon tape around the new valve, and I also put Teflon tape on the water pump, which was very hard to reach because of having the slide in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and screw the valve on down here. There we go. And it says screw it on 1 turn past hand tight, which you can kind of use the valve to help aid in that. In the directions, it didn't say put the valve on first, it said put the plastic on first. I just did the valve, so I think it's getting pretty tight. Kind of want to bring this valve back to the top. It's really tight. All right, so yeah, so that's about as tight as I think it needs to be. Really snug, and I was able to get really good leverage with the valve on there. Sorry, was that in the way? Shoot. With the valve on there, turning that and getting that really tight. Hopefully this has enough stretch to reach. I think it does, but it's a little cold. So we're gonna go ahead and get that screwed on, and then we would test it, but I have no water in the tanks. We would test it, but I have no water in the tanks, so I think I'm just gonna kind of get my antifreeze hooked up, and you do that by attaching this spout, this hose here, under that cap. You remove the cap and put this on, and this is what allows you to siphon from your jug of antifreeze, which I will link the antifreeze on Amazon. But if you have a Walmart, which who doesn't have a Walmart, buy this. It's $4 for the gallon versus $15 on Amazon. Or, yeah, I think it was 15. Or even 9. I think I found it for 9. But way too expensive. So, buy it from Walmart. Unless you just have to have it. Then you can use the Amazon link, but I wouldn't. So, I'm going to get this water line hooked on. And then I think we'll be good to go once we get the antifreeze line on. Pretty sweet. Alright, so we found ourselves in a pickle. The water line coming out of the base of the tank that I need to screw onto that fitting is too short. I can't stretch it and make it reach and get on there straight. But every other water line connecting to the pump, which is only one, has plenty of slack. So what I think I'm going to do is unscrew the water pump and see how long those screws are. And I think I'm just going to turn it a little bit so that it angles that fitting more this way, and we'll go on to that water line. There shouldn't be any reason why that wouldn't work, as long as those screws aren't like crazy long, and they for sure need to be in like a support board. But with as close as they are together, I imagine they're just screwed into the subflooring here. So I'm going to unscrew at least these three and pivot it and see how long they are. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so now I'm just going to take the water pump here and scoot it over a couple inches so that that water line is not having pressure on it. So we can at least maybe get two back in the same spot. You can see the hole right there. It's not very big. So we're just scooting the water pump over just a smidgen. And that will allow us to not have any pressure on the water lines, which is good. Whereas this doesn't, this kind of wiggles up there, but it's not putting any undue pressure on it, I don't think. Just moving it over like an inch or two. Cool. Alright, I'm going to get these screwed back down. Just run right back into the ground, and should be good to go. Alright, so now the water pump is a little bit scooted over, and all the fittings fit without being super tight. Kind of a little bit extra of a job that I didn't need to have to do if somebody would have just left an extra couple inches on the hose, but what you gonna do? So let's go ahead and get the antifreeze line hooked up, and we should be able to get it sucked through the system. Assuming there's no leaks. That would suck. All right, let's go to the next step. All right, so before we can go ahead and get the antifreeze sucked through the system, I need to step back outside and close the valve that drained all the water out of our freshwater tank, and the low point caps, get those put back on so that all this antifreeze doesn't just run out of the system. But something I did notice, because I've already winterized our hot water heater by emptying all the water and taking the anode rod out, is most campers have a bypass valve on their hot water heater, which is this valve right here and here. You can see they're aiming towards the hot water heater, which means it's allowing water into there. So what I'm going to do is turn those to the side so that all the water can no longer go into the tank. I don't know which way they turn. Either that way or that way. I don't want to break it. There we go. So this will allow it to bypass the hot water heater, so I don't have to go fiddle with that again. But let's go outside and put the caps back on. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put our hose down into the antifreeze, right down in there. And I have asked my wife to go out and watch to make sure. I'm not gonna put the caps on the drain hoses, which are down through that hole. And I've turned off the bypass, so I wanna see if anything comes out of there, or if it'll just come straight out of the spigot and not bother with that. So let's go turn our water pump on. All right, so we're turning it off because it went straight out from underneath the camper. And it pumped pretty fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and go put those caps on like I recommended earlier, and we're gonna go ahead and do this one more time. All right, so here's our hot water heater from the outside, and this first valve is the drain for our freshwater tank, and those two are the low point drains for hot and cold water. So we want those to fill up with antifreeze but not drain everything out right away. So I had to put the caps back on and close that valve. And if you don't know, closed is always not in line with the hose, so essentially crossing it off. All right, so now that we've got the caps put back on underneath the RV, we're gonna go ahead and turn on the water pump, and we have this valve open for the sink, and we'll see if it sucks it through. I didn't see any pink coming through the line when I was running that, but a lot of water was coming out, so I'm glad I'm doing this. But let's go ahead and turn on the water pump once more, and hopefully get some pink coming through that. All right, there we go. We're getting pink running through there, solid. So we're gonna see, oh, there's pink there. Right, hot, not cold. Turn that off. Pump's still going. We have no more valves open, so that's probably why that's not sucking. Let's go ahead and turn this off because we cannot get into the bathroom, unfortunately. All right, so that's how we get it run through our sink. Unfortunately, we're not able to get into our bathroom and with a slide in. It's too small, but we live on a really slanted driveway, and we can't put out the slide while it's uneven, especially with it being a big slide. It can be a little bit wonky going in and out. So that's not great. We really do need to do that. But at this moment, I've got it into the sink, which is nice. I try to run it a little bit more to get some more antifreeze down into the pipes, especially like in the P-traps and things like that. And then when it is a nicer day, because if you saw start of this day, it was sleeting pretty bad and raining. So on its drier day, I may put out this slide hopefully soon, because it's supposed to keep getting cold, and then we will go from there. But I hope this helped you guys out. Please let me know if you have any questions down below. If I didn't say before, this is the Valterra RV converter valve that you can add to the inlet side of your water pump and allow you to winterize your RV so you don't have any fixes to make come spring, because nothing's more of a bummer than getting set up to go camp and have fun than to have to fix something along the way. But I hope this helped you guys out. If you are looking for links to anything I used, it'll be in my description down below. I'll have an Amazon affiliate link, which gives me a couple bucks on many purchases. So you're not spending any more to use the links. But let me know if you have any questions down below. I'm happy to answer them. I love that part of this community. So hope you guys enjoy your RVs. Stay warm this winter, and we're excited to help you out. Have a nice day. Nice night. Nice day. Can't get mornings and nights right. We'll see you on the next one.